If you're a Toyota fan, you gotta love the Toyota pickup. Bad name, I know. They should have just called it the Hilux here like everywhere else. But here in North America, Toyota pickups are super sought after these days. They're known for pretty much running forever, or if you live up north, at least until they rust in half. The Toyota pickup was a great truck, and it was out there competing with Rangers, hard bodies, and S10s, but if you needed something bigger in the 90s, well, then you had to go domestic. This meant that some loyal Toyota customers who loved the pickup would eventually be lost to domestic manufacturers when they needed something larger. In May of 1999, Toyota entered the full-size pickup market with the Tundra, but what's often forgotten is the Tundra was not Toyota's first larger truck. In 1993, Toyota added what they called a midsize truck to the lineup. So meet the subject of today's video, the Toyota T100. It's not too small, it's not too big, but is it just right? Or is it occupying a niche that nobody asked for? Let's take a look at what the Toyota T100 is all about. If you haven't heard of the T100 before, you're not alone. I have to admit, I didn't know it existed until a subscriber left a comment telling me to look it up. I couldn't believe a 90s Toyota truck existed that I didn't know about. But they didn't sell a whole lot of these, and we'll get into why that is in a moment, so I guess maybe I've just never seen one, or if I have, it was probably a long time ago and I didn't know what I was looking at. For years leading up to the release of the T100, US Toyota dealerships had been begging the brand for a full-size truck. With the recent success of Lexus, the full-size pickup market was really the only major American market segment left that the Japanese hadn't taken over, or at least made a serious dent in. This is one time where the Japanese were a little slow to respond, and they were actually fairly resistant to the idea of a full-size truck at first. It's rumored that American Toyota product planners and executives told Japan that the truck needed to be a V8 and even sent some 10-gallon cowboy hats to Japan to show them how much headroom would be needed. Ultimately, Toyota of Japan decided they knew better, and what we got was kind of a compromise. Now for the debut 1993 model year, the T100 came in a single cab configuration with a full-size 8-foot bed. This made it the first imported pickup that could flat carry a 4x8 sheet of plywood between the wheel wells with the tailgate closed, so of course they leaned on this heavily in the advertising. It was larger than a mid-size truck like the Dodge Dakota, but its overall length was 4.2 inches shorter than a long bed F-150, and it was about 4 inches narrower as well. However, the T100's bed length and width, arguably the dimensions that count the most, were within an inch of the F-150's measurements. And yes, they left enough headroom for cowboy hats. This leaves perhaps the most significant difference between the T100 and domestic full-size trucks under the hood. Despite American Toyota dealers asking for a V8, the T100 was a V6. Even though this wasn't quite what the dealerships had been asking for, Toyota of Japan did this intentionally. They were nervous of the market pushback that might come from Detroit if they started directly competing with their bread and butter full-size truck lineup. They were worried about blowback and potential import quotas that might be sanctioned against them as a result. They were probably right about that, so I can't really blame Toyota for this hesitation. Since all T100s were built in Japan, Toyota didn't yet have a production facility in the US equipped to build a full-size truck. Taking a look at the styling, larger dimensions aside, the T100 can be easily distinguished from its smaller pickup sibling by its flush mount headlights and a different grille. It's actually kind of similar to the front end on 98 to 2000 first-gen Tacomas. Compared to the Toyota pickup of the equivalent era, it's also got different taillights with clear lens turn signals and this black bar across the tailgate. Inside, it's a fairly classic looking 90s Toyota interior. It's a very nice, almost car-like interior, and it's got just about everything you need, yet nothing you don't. This is a truck. You don't need massaging seats. Initially, there are two trim levels, base and SR5. SR5 trucks come with John Davis approved instrumentation, a tilt steering wheel, a sliding rear window, the chrome package, which gives you a chrome grille, door handles, and window trim, a 5-speaker sound system, a 60/40 split bench seat with center console storage and an armrest, and a few other conveniences like map lights and a passenger vanity mirror. Base models have a 3-person bench seat and black trim, but the chrome package can be added as an option, as can the convenience package, which includes the full instrumentation, tilt steering wheel, and sliding rear window. There is an optional power package that adds power windows, door locks, and chrome exterior mirrors to the SR5 model. Both base and SR5 models come in 2-wheel or 4-wheel drive, and most T100s are half-ton models, but you could get a 1-ton in the standard trim 2-wheel drive configuration. There were a bunch of options offered as either factory options or dealer-installed accessories, and these included things like an alarm system, a bed liner, and AC. One thing that's kind of neat about the T100 is the tailgate is removable without any tools, which is pretty convenient if you're using it as a work truck, not just for oversized loads, but also if you ever need to load or especially unload something with a forklift. Obviously that feature is not going to be utilized as much on non-work trucks, and nowadays I would be a little worried that that makes the tailgate too easy to steal. But now we gotta talk about the powertrain. The only engine offered for 1993 was the 3-liter V6 shared with the smaller pickup and the 4Runner. Now this is a great engine, and in the T100 it puts out 150 horsepower and 180 pound-feet of torque, but this is where Japan didn't quite understand the tastes of American truck buyers. If they really wanted this truck to be taken seriously by American buyers, I think it at least needed a V8 option. Now Japan will argue that they can get the same power out of a V6 and it's more efficient, blah blah blah. That's all true and nice, but most Americans, unless they're buying a compact truck, they don't care, they want a V8. Hey guys, what do you think of my new truck? It's the Toyota T100. It's got a full-size 8-foot bed. You look a little low on torque, son. A real man drives a truck with 8 cylinders. Get the f*** out of my way, you're driving too slow. For 93, the standard transmission on all T100s is a 5-speed manual, but a column-shifted 4-speed auto is optional. Gross vehicle weight rating on the half-tons is 5,000 pounds for the 2-wheel drive and 5,500 for the 4-wheel drive, and payload capacity varies from 1,550 to 1,650 depending on trim and transmission. The 1-ton T100 has a GVW of 6,000 pounds and its payload capacity is 2,570. Towing capacity is up to 5,000 pounds. In 1994, the T100 gets a standard driver's side airbag and Toyota adds a new engine to the lineup. No, they weren't listening to the cries from their American dealerships for a V8, in fact quite the opposite. They decided to add a 4-cylinder model to the lineup. 4-cylinder model would become the new base model, available only in 4x2, and the previous base models were now badged as Deluxe or DX models. The 4-cylinder engine is the 3RZ FE, a dual overhead cam 2.7 liter that makes 150 horsepower and 177 pound-feet of torque. So to be fair, not much different from the power ratings in the V6, but still I feel like most buyers looking for a 4-cylinder truck would be looking at a compact truck, not the T100. This is the same engine that would be used the following year in the Tacoma, the replacement for the Toyota pickup. This engine makes more sense in that application. Hey guys, my new T100— Don't even talk to me. I run on more cylinders when I misfire. Get the f*** out of my way, you're driving too slow. The base 4-cylinder model comes manual only, without mudguards, and with vinyl seats, cost-cut carpeting, and no left footrest, so it is a real bare bones model. Finally realizing that the American market wanted more power, in 1995 Toyota replaced the 3-liter V6 with a 3.4-liter, an engine shared with the new Tacoma, 4Runner, and some Land Cruisers. This V6 was rated at 190 horsepower and more importantly bumped torque up to 220. They also added an xtracab model available in half-ton DX or SR5 trims in both 4x2 and 4x4. This helped, and by the 96 model year sales improved slightly and yearly US sales were able to crest into the mid-40,000s, but this was still a far cry from the 6-digit yearly sales numbers that the big three were enjoying. You still have too few cylinders. You don't have enough doors either. Get the f*** out of my way, you're driving too slow. In 1996, Toyota stopped selling the regular cab model in the upper trim levels or even with the V6 engine. This meant that the standard cab now only came in the bare bones 4x2 model with the 4-cylinder. This was sold as the T100 standard and all other trims were now extra cab only. The mid-level model was now sold as the T100 extra cab in either 2-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive, and then there was still the SR5 model also in either 2 or 4-wheel drive. In 1997, there were a few minor option and color changes, and the TRD division introduced a supercharger for the 4.3-liter engine, which was also available to the Tacoma and the 4Runner. This add-on would bring up horsepower to 260 and torque to 265. Also for 97, bucket seats became optional on the SR5. The final model year for the T100 was 1998, and as we know, the Tundra would come out as the replacement in 1999 for the 2000 model year. The Tundra would be built at Toyota's new plant in Princeton, Indiana to avoid import tariffs, and would finally be a Toyota truck available with a V8. I read that the first design markup of the Tundra shown to US dealers had a V6 in it, and one dealer stood up and told them you might as well go home. If the T100 didn't offer a V8, he said he wouldn't bother ordering any. But the Japanese did finally realize that a full-size truck for the American market would need a V8 to be competitive, and it probably was smart of them to wait until they could produce such a truck in America before they started selling it. The Tundra, being a larger successor to the T100, was actually originally going to be called the T150, but Ford's lawyers said, no, you can't do that. Still, even with the V6, I think the T100 is a pretty cool truck. It would be super cool to have a peak 90s era Toyota truck with a full 8-foot bed. To my surprise, I searched for one on Marketplace today and I actually found one close to me. But oh man, $14,000. What have you done to me, Sublime Life? As if I needed another vehicle on my want list that I can't afford. Well, back to my price range I go, looking at completely rusted out hard bodies, I guess.